Hello, and welcome to the third in this series of videos from Yellow Crane Tai Chi. My name is Harold, and in this lesson we'll be looking at the third movement in the sequence, brush knee, push step. Just like the previous lessons, we're going to start off by learning the movement in the feet and legs first, then adding the arms in later to complete the move. So far in Tai Chi we've learned to move in two ways. We can go down and up. We can turn to our left and to our right. But one of the other things we want to be able to do is shift our weight, specifically to our left and to our right. In a similar way that we use a push and pull in our legs to make ourselves turn, to shift our weight we do a similar thing. But instead of pushing up and down, we push to the side. So I take my right leg and push out and let my left leg relax underneath it, so I shift over onto my left foot. This means my legs are now shaped like a right angle triangle. Now every time I do this move, I want to keep my torso vertical and in the same place relative to the ground. So I imagine like I'm one of those guys on a foosball table. I have this metal rod through my hips and I only travel along the line that I can travel. So my head stays at the same height and my body doesn't shift up and down. So I'm basically traveling from one foot to the other foot. This move gives us a very good reason for why we need to have a just right stance. If my feet are too close together and too high, I really don't have that far to shift around inside, and I basically just wobble from side to side. On the other hand, if I make my stance too big, it makes this process really kind of demanding, and I wouldn't be wanting to do this for all that long. We want to do this shift onto one leg so that we can then employ the swinging action from the previous move and actually make ourselves change direction. So if I shift my weight onto one leg and pick up the toes of my other foot, if I use the swinging action and let myself pivot on the heel, I come to the corner like this. So previously we were turning between 11 o'clock and 1 o'clock on this huge virtual clock face sitting on the floor underneath us. On this occasion, we're moving from a clock face to a compass. So on this occasion, what I'm going to do is instead of trying to hit a clock number, I'm going to hit a point on the compass, because instead of being 30-degree turn, I'm looking for a 45-degree turn. So feet together and parallel, I can only turn about 30 degrees. But if I shift my weight over onto one leg, pick up the toes and pivot, this brings me round to 45 degrees. So once I've shifted my weight from center to whichever leg I'm standing on and done my little turn, what I want to do is make sure the toes of that foot go back onto the ground, because I'm going to shift my weight into that leg. So I sit down into my stance and shift my weight over onto my right leg. I'm going to pick up my left toes and pivot to the corner. I don't want to do this because it straightens my leg out too much and can cause damage to the knee. I'm going to bring my toes up. What I want to do instead is this, so that my knee stays bent and I'm not going to damage it when I shift my weight. As you can see, it's a bit like I'm doing a curtsy. So I come to my start position, shift my weight into my right leg. I turn to my left. I put my foot on the ground by sitting down and keeping the knee bent. At this point, I want to shift my weight into my left leg. So I look into the corner where my knee and my toe is pointing and move that way, shifting my weight onto my left leg. So even when we're doing this, we've got to keep our just right rules, okay? So showing you an important one here is we don't want to be butting in the move. We don't want to be leaning into the move. So when we're doing it, we're getting into stance, shifting our weight, pivoting with our hips and our heel, putting the foot down on the ground. So whenever I shift, I try and keep everything as vertical as possible. I don't want to be doing this. Another thing we want to pay attention to is not letting our knees collapse and keeping our feet on the ground. So again, going through the move into stance, shift onto one leg, pivot to the corner. And whenever I'm coming over, I want to pay attention to my right knee. I don't want it falling in like this, because that can cause damage. I don't want to be picking my foot up off the ground, because that's not doing the exercise properly. What I need to do is make sure that my knee is round and out like this. So whenever I'm standing out, I have a sensation like my knees are being pushed apart. So at this point, I want to add another little idea in your head. And this one, I'm going to go back to the Roaring Twenties, and in particular, the Charleston. We all know the dance, we've seen it. We see the knees collapse in, and swing out, and in, and out. But this is the way we want to feel. Because if we're like this when we're doing Tai Chi, it can cause damage to our knees. So even when I'm sitting down and shifting my weight, I always think about this Charleston sensation in my knees. So when I shift onto one leg, this knee stays out, so that whenever I pivot it, it stays in line with the corner. When I shift my weight, the back leg feels out as well. I don't want this to happen, because that could cause damage to my knee at some point in later life. So remembering all that, I'm going to do it on the other side. So shift onto your left leg, turn your hips, pivot on the right heel. Put the foot down, make sure your knees are out, and shift your weight into the right corner. So I'm now going to show you this move from the side and also from a 45-degree angle, so you can see where you're turning to. Sit down, shift the weight, pivot in the hips and the foot, put the foot and the knee in the right position, shift the weight to the corner. Shifting the weight, turning the hips, pivoting on the heel, putting the foot down, pushing the knees out, shifting the weight to the corner. Now that we've got ourselves into the corner, we need to get ourselves out again. So I'm now going to show you how to get out and come back to your central position. So, going down into our ready stance, shift over to my right leg, pivot my hip and my left foot, drop down, bend the knee, shift to the corner. I'm going to come back exactly the same way. So I'm going to shift back over onto my right foot, pick up my left toes, pivot, and come back into the middle. Now on the other side, I shift onto my left leg, pivot to right, shift my weight in, sitting straight back onto my left foot, pivot the foot, and shift back into the middle. Sit into stance, shift weight to one leg, swing the hips, pivot on the heel, shift the weight forward, shift the weight straight back onto the other leg, pick up the toes, pivot the foot, shift back to the middle, shift to the other leg, pivot the hip on the heel, shift the weight forward by putting the foot down, knee out, push into the corner, sit straight back, pick up the toes, pivot, and back to the middle. This feels quite mechanical, but later on we'll show intermediate steps which take off all the edges. What I'm going to demonstrate for you now is the flowing version that you should be aiming towards. So into ready stance, shift onto your right leg. Pivot the left foot on the heel, move the hips, shift the weight to the corner. I'm going to turn and shift my weight back to the middle like this. I'm going to use that turn to keep me turning to the right as I shift onto my left leg. This means I'm using the swing in the middle of the move to create the turn. This creates a much smoother and more Tai Chi-like. So that's the leg movements for brush knee push step. We will use these movements later on in other moves, but for now, these are the leg movements for brush knee push step. Just to note, this particular type of footwork is the footwork that has been modified so you can practice this at home. Traditionally, this form is done with a form of stepping that means that you travel. So if you were to practice this at home, you might end up walking backwards into your own sofa. And now we're going to move on to the hand movements for brush knee push step. So like before, we need to find a just right start position for this move. To get this right, what we're going to do is we're going to shift our weight from one leg to the other and let our arms swing. And let this decide where our natural position is. So if I drop into my normal ready position, with my feet straight, my legs bent, my shoulders forward, my head up, and start shifting my weight from side to side, my arms start to swing naturally. So my arms start to swing like the monkey from our previous example. So what we do is we let our arms swing a little bit more. We actually think about this repulse monkey move when we're doing it. So if I'm swinging and letting my arms go naturally, at a certain point it feels like one of my arms is going up to the position that it would be in repulse monkey. Here. So my right arm feels like it did in repulse monkey, but my left arm is doing something slightly different. So if I shift my weight onto my left leg, my left arm swings up like I'm doing opening the box from repulse monkey. It's the same position, but I'm getting there from a different angle. When my left arm is swinging, my right arm basically follows it and comes up in line. So we can come back to our prop here and give us a little bit of help on what we're doing. So if I take it in my right hand and hold it like I would normally hold a stick, and then put my hand on it the other way around, so it's like holding a golf club, what I can do is whenever I swing my arms, it will give me an idea of where my other hand is going, because the stick is pulling the other hand. So if I swing to my left, my hands come up like this. So the quick and easy one to remember how to do this one is your Fred Astaire. Okay? So shifting my weight onto my left leg gives me my starting position, but it doesn't give me the full move. What I want to do is start shifting my weight back into the middle so my arms will move to give me how it's going along. So I'm going to shift my weight without doing any turning to go through the move. So I start by shifting my weight onto my left leg and let my arms swing up. So now I'm going to shift my weight back into the middle. My left arm is going to behave exactly the same as it did in the previous move. My right hand is going to drop a little bit and come level to my ribs. So I move from here to here. When I'm in this position, I always feel like I'm doing some kind of Spanish or Latin American dance. You know, like the Paso Doble or the flamenco. You know, that whole ole thing kind of goes in my head. To finish off, I'm going to shift over onto my right leg. My left arm does exactly what it does in repulse monkey, but my right hand is going to come down like I'm stroking a cat or a dog to finish off here. So on the other side, shift the weight onto the right leg, swing the arms. Come back to the middle, right arm bends, left arm drops. Ole. Finish off by shifting onto your left leg, right hand pushes, left hand strokes a dog. So now we're looking to match the hand movements to the leg movements. Thankfully they match up 1, 2, 3. So each hand movement and leg movement both start and end at the same time. So the first part of the move is just like doing it with just the hands. I'm going to shift my weight over onto one leg and bring my hands up. So I shift over onto my right leg, swing my arms up. So step 2 is pivoting the torso and bringing the hands to the Ole position. So I'm pivoting on my left heel, turning my hips through 45 degrees and coming to the corner. So my right hand is almost vertical and my left hand is vaguely pointing towards my right elbow. My toes are up. So from here, I'm going to drop down so I can shift my weight forward into the corner. As I shift into the corner, my right hand pushes, my left hand strokes a dog. Now on the other side. So I shift my weight into my left leg, my arm comes up. I pivot on my heel, I come to the Ole position, I drop my weight, shift forward, stroke the dog, and push. One of the things we can do with this move is rely on our directions again. So instead of using a clock face this time, we're standing on the middle of a compass. So we have north, south, east, west, northeast, southwest, all those directions to give us a help in where we're pointing and what we're doing in the move. The first place we can use the compass is when we do our turn. So if I'm swinging up, whenever I turn, the compass points I need to pay attention to are north and northeast. So if I'm pivoting towards the northeast, my left hand should be in line with the north, whilst my toes and my elbow of my other hand are pointing into the northeast. So if I take that move from the corner, that means I'm here. So you can see the position is very square when I do it to the corner, i.e. the northeast. So again, coming towards the camera, I'm able to find out if I'm pointing into the corner. So my left hand will point into the corner. So lastly, we have the hand that's stroking the dog. We have the direction we're pointing, but the hand that strokes the dog is also very important. With this, we want to make sure that it's pointing along the east-west line if we're turning either into the northeast corner or the northwest corner. So I'm going to do this move from the side and pay attention to the hand that's stroking the dog and the way it's staying in line towards the camera. Shift the weight, raise the hands. Pivot and go Ole. Finish off by pushing and stroking the dog. Pay attention to my hand coming towards the camera that strokes the dog. It ends up in a line pointing to the north. So in the form we traditionally do all moves on the left and right. Well, the ones that aren't symmetrical like the commencement movement, but that's a special case. So with this one, we're going to need another joining move to get the moves going to the left and going to the right together so we can do repetitions. We're going to go through that now. So shift the weight to the right leg, arms come up. Turning to the corner, going Ole. Brush the knee and push step. It's where the name comes from. From here, I'm going to return to the middle. My left toes are going to come back so my legs feel just right, but my arms are going to go to the starting position for brush knee push step, like this. From here, I shift my weight back over onto my left leg so I can turn to the right, like this. Then I finish the move off again, brush knee, push step. So again, back to the middle, hands to the starting position. Shift your weight back into that leg to do the turn and brush knee push step. And so to finish off, I'm going to do 5 repetitions on each side so you can follow along and get some practice. So getting into our just right starting position, feet parallel on the ground, knees bent sitting down, shoulders roll forward, head sitting up properly. Shift the weight onto the right foot, arms swing up. Turn to the left corner, go ole as we pivot. Just shift your weight forward. You're going to brush your knee with your left hand and push with the right hand. Coming back into the middle, hands come to the starting position. Pivoting back on the left leg, coming to ole. Brushing the knee and pushing to the right corner. Back to the middle. So that's the move brush knee push step. Like the other moves, we can practice this in repetitions, but after the next video, what I will do is I will show you a sequence so we can put them all together and practice them one after each other. If you enjoyed this video and found the information helpful, please consider liking and subscribing to our channel. This means you will be notified when any of our new videos come out. I've been Harold from Yellow Crane Tai Chi, and thanks for watching.